Sitting at the kitchen table, I glanced at the zeros on my bank account, realizing the hollow victory of paying off an $80,000 debt for my husband's family. The memories of my mother-in-law smirking with the cutting words, "We never liked you anyway," carved deeper than the financial loss. Watching my husband's retreating figure, I inwardly knew they believed this was the end, but they missed that it was just the beginning. My story started like a scene from a romantic comedy when I first met Jack at the university library. Books in my arms were about to spill, and he came to my rescue, our eyes meeting in a moment orchestrated by fate. After 2 years of romance, he proposed during a simple picnic at the park where we had our first date. With a heartfelt yes, I embraced the notion of happiness and a future together. Our intimate yet beautiful wedding showcased Jack's seemingly welcoming family, even if his mother Eleanor seemed reserved. The initial years were blissful, filled with dreams and a sense of comfort. With Jack in finance and me teaching, we imagined a future house and family. Yet, financial pressures loomed as Jack's salary growth stalled, costs soared, and arguments about money became frequent. I believed we were resilient, but then came the pivotal night. Jack's haunted look at the door spelled trouble before he spoke. "Sarah, we need to talk." His voice, a whisper of a haunting truth about his family's debt, $80,000. Despite the shock, love compelled me to see his family as my own. We made the life-altering decision to clear their debt, emptying savings, mortgaging our apartment, and selling heirlooms. Through financial maneuvers, tutoring, and Jack's overtime, the debt was finally paid. Yet, the expected gratitude never came, only silence. His family, Jack assured, needed time due to their pride. Months passed with our finances tight, but hope lingered until that one day. Jack arrived, cold and distant, stating he was leaving because he needed a fresh start away from financial stress. My pleas about our sacrifices fell on deaf ears, his mind made. As he packed, a question lingered. "What about your family?" His indifferent response wounded, and then he was gone. Alone, I called Eleanor and faced her condescending revelation. "We never liked you anyway," shattering my world. My existence as the unwanted member was bitterly confirmed. However, the betrayal birthed a new resolve. I transitioned from victim to survivor, revenge a fervent whisper. Scouring bank transactions, I uncovered a financial betrayal, their well-executed deceit now clear. Advice from a lawyer was bleak. No legal recourse, but defeat wasn't an option. Behind a facade of healing, I delved into research on Jack's family's shady dealings, aided by a PI friend, Alex. His findings echoed my fears, revealing family fraud and potential involvement in the suspicious death of Jack's uncle. Reborn as Samantha Taylor, a business-savvy persona, I infiltrated their social realms, seeking retribution. Eleanor failed to recognize me, ignoring the danger lurking behind the new face. As financial acumen grew, investments became my path to reclaim lost stability. Soon, their underestimation would become their downfall, and I would strike with a strength they never anticipated. Months had passed, and the investments I'd made in various companies not only recouped my initial capital but were starting to yield substantial returns. It was ironic that the very skills Jack and his family once exploited for their advantage were now the tools I used to rebuild my life. Unlike them, my motivation wasn't greed. Each dollar earned was a step toward my ultimate goal. 1 year after Jack abandoned me, I stood in my new apartment, gazing at the city skyline. The woman reflected back at me was a far cry from the broken person of 12 months ago. Samantha Taylor was a formidable force, prepared to challenge those who wronged her. Raising a glass to commemorate my transformation, I murmured a silent toast. Happy anniversary. The preparation stage had ended. Tomorrow would begin the real game. As I lowered the glass, the weight of the occasion settled on me. 1 year of detailed planning and reinvention, waiting in the shadows. Today marked the anniversary of my betrayal, but it was now time to execute my plan. The shocking revelation that had shattered my world was nothing compared to the plans I had in store for them. Waking up the next morning, a sense of purpose filled me. It had been building for months. I dressed with precision in a tailored black suit that exuded power and confidence, Samantha Taylor's armor. As I applied makeup, my reflection was unrecognizable from the naive teacher once consumed by love. That woman was gone. My first meeting was at a small cafe across town, far from familiar territory. I met Alex there, out of sight from prying eyes. He was seated in a corner booth when I arrived, a manila envelope on the table. "Are you sure about this, Sarah?" he asked as I took a seat. He still struggled to call me Samantha even after a year. Once you start down this path, there's no going back. Meeting his concerned gaze with unwavering determination, I assured, "I'm certain." "Alex, they took everything from me. It's time they realized the cost of their actions." He nodded slowly, sliding the envelope toward me. "Everything you requested is inside: financial records, communication logs, witness statements about Robert's death. It's all circumstantial, but it's enough to start asking questions." "Thank you, Alex. I couldn't have done this without you," I acknowledged as I stood to leave. He caught my wrist, saying, Samantha, be careful. These people are dangerous. If they realize what you're doing, don't worry about me, Alex." I interrupted with a cold smile. I'm not the woman they thought they could discard. I'm ready for whatever comes next. With the envelope securely tucked in my briefcase, I proceeded to my next appointment. Over the year, I had cultivated a professional relationship with Janet Moore, an ambitious young journalist on the hunt for her big story. We met in a bustling coffee shop, the noise providing cover for our discussion. "Miss Taylor," Janet eagerly greeted me. "You mentioned a story?" I nodded, sliding a USB drive across the table. "Everything's here: financial fraud, tax evasion, and potential involvement in a suspicious death, all connected to one of the city's most notable families." Janet's eyes widened, pocketing the drive. "This is huge. Are you sure about your sources?" "Absolutely," I confirmed. "Every piece of information has been verified, but I must remain anonymous." "Of course," Janet agreed quickly. "If it checks out, this could be the story of the year." I left Janet absorbed in the files, my heart racing with anticipation and excitement. The first domino had been set, now. I just had to wait for it to fall. The next phase required a personal touch. I spent months ingratiating myself within Jack's family's social circles, always staying on the periphery of their awareness. Tonight was a charity gala Eleanor never missed, the perfect stage for our confrontation. As I entered the grand ballroom, I felt eyes scrutinizing me. Samantha Taylor had become known as a savvy businesswoman with deep pockets and a generous spirit, an ideal profile Eleanor loved for her projects. Navigating the crowd, I accepted a glass of champagne from a passing waiter and saw Eleanor presiding over her usual entourage. Taking a deep breath, I stepped into her view. Recognition flickered in her eyes, swiftly replaced by haughty disdain. "Well, well," her voice carried, drawing attention around us. "Look who crawled out. It's Sarah, isn't it?" Expecting me to crumble. The curious gazes anticipated collapse, but instead, I smiled coldly. "Eleanor," I replied steadily, "how nice to see you, although you seem to have me mistaken for someone else."
"I'm Samantha Taylor."
I extended my hand, noticing her eyes widen at the expensive watch I wore. "I don't believe we've been formally introduced." Eleanor's hand trembled slightly as she shook mine, her eyes darting among the group. "My mistake. Welcome, Miss Taylor. Are you new to our circle?" "Relatively," I replied smoothly. "I recently shifted my business interests here. I've heard much about your family's ventures. Perhaps we could discuss future opportunities." Her face paled slightly, fear flickering in her eyes. "Perhaps, if you'll excuse me, I need to speak with someone," she stammered before hurrying away. Satisfied, I gave the group an enigmatic smile before disappearing into the crowd. The next days I monitored the news closely. Janet delivered. The story broke on Tuesday morning, plastered across the city's respected newspaper. Prominent family implicated in financial fraud and death investigation. The headline screamed. From my apartment, I watched the story spreading like wildfire. By noon, it was on every news channel, and by evening, federal investigators had publicly announced a financial probe into the family. A text from Alex read, "It's happening. Are you okay?" I quickly responded, "Better than okay. This is only the beginning." Witnessing their facade crumble was satisfying. But I knew this was just the start of a long campaign. They would fight back with wealth and influence, but I had nothing left to lose either. The following morning, I received an unexpected call from an unfamiliar number. I had a feeling who it was. "Hello," I answered, feigning neutrality. "You think you're clever, don't you?" Jack's voice seethed with barely restrained anger. "You think you can waltz in and destroy everything?" I allowed a small, cold smile. "Who is this?" "Don't play games," he snarled. "I know it was you. What do you want, money?" "Oh, Jack," I said, voice thick with false sympathy. "It's not about money. It's about justice, consequences. You used me and thought you could discard me. Now you'll see how wrong that was." A long pause followed. "Sarah, please, stop before it's too late. We can fix this," he pleaded, echoing remnants of old love. But remembering his cold departure, I said firmly, "No, Jack, it's too late. You chose a year ago. Now face the consequences." I ended the call, heart pounding, exhilarated but resolved. The days post-expose swirled with activity. Predictably, Jack's family mobilized their resources, branding themselves as victims. Their PR team worked tirelessly, hiring elite lawyers to issue legal threats. But I was ready. Each denial fueled public scrutiny. More evidence emerged, corroborating initial claims and raising questions. I watched from the shadows. Samantha Taylor remained peripheral. A successful businesswoman, unconnected to the drama. I pulled strings, strategically feeding information to media and law enforcement. A realization dawned on me one evening watching the investigation report. A dark epiphany. The betrayal's pain, the justice thirst, had driven me. But now, as plans materialized, a calculated satisfaction over mere revenge emerged. I wasn't righting wrongs. I was reshaping my world, wielding power to elevate or crush through strategic words and actions. Intoxicating power. Was I the monster I despised? Was I no different from Jack's family?
No.
Their actions stemmed from greed. Mine sought justice, not just for me, but others also wronged over the years. This clarity fueled renewed effort. Through my contacts, I unearthed unexpected intelligence. Jack's father's business associate revealed an offshore account, untouched in pre-surfaced records. This account, they hinted, was where real secrets lay buried. To access it demanded more than my usual information gathering. I had to get close to the family, infiltrate private records. The chance arose sooner than anticipated. A charity event at the family's mansion, a transparent attempt to refurbish their image. As Samantha Taylor, my invitation was inevitable. The night came with focused preparation, slipping into an elegant black dress and subtle, luxurious jewelry. I embodied wealth and sophistication, belonging among elite circles. Entering the mansion, nerves flared, first proximity to Jack's family since that pivotal day, but I donned Samantha's persona firmly. I mingled, advancing toward Jack and Eleanor mingling uneasily. Strange showed visibly under scrutiny. Finally before them, recognition flashed in Jack's eyes, mixed emotions, shock, anger, regret. "Miss Taylor," Eleanor greeted, tight-voiced. "Unexpected to see you." I smiled warmly. "I wouldn't miss it. Your family's charity work is legendary," I enthused, pausing subtly, an unspoken reminder of their reputation's cloud. Jack's jaw tightened, managing a stiff nod. "We appreciate your support, Miss Taylor. Excuse us. Other guests await." As they moved, I smiled, a mission accomplished sensation. Phase 1 complete. Phase 2 initiated. Under restroom-seeking guise, I discreetly departed from the main gathering. Off-limits upper floors didn't deter. Prepared, lockpick kit in clutch. Heart racing. I navigated to Jack's father's study, his private documentation sanctuary, for my research. The door lock presented no challenge to my skill.
Inside.
Seeking leads on the offshore account consumed urgency. Sounds from the gathering below amplified urgency. As frustration loomed, I unearthed a hidden safe behind art. It was a gamble, but viable. To my shock, the combination, Jack's parents' anniversary, simple. Inside awaited my quarry, documents of the offshore account, transaction records condemning the family's covert dealings. Hands steady but thrilled, I photographed each page swiftly, returning all. Footsteps echoed, panic surged, realization flared. I overstayed my welcome. Scrambling, pausing in the shadows. I found a refuge behind the thick curtain, just as the door creaked open. "I'm telling you, something's off," Jack's unmistakable voice echoed. His father, in a reassuring tone, countered. "Calm down. She's simply another attendee. We can't risk causing a scene, especially not now." Holding my breath, I willed them to overlook any anomaly in the room's arrangement. Finally, after what felt like ages of covert surveillance, they exited, still engulfed in a subdued argument. Breathing a silent sigh of relief, I stealthily slipped out and merged back into the party crowd, maintaining a facade of poise while my heart raced within. As the evening waned and I exited the mansion, triumph coursed through me. I possessed the crucial piece destined to topple Jack's familial empire. Yet, on my drive home, a sobering reality dawned. In my pursuit of vengeance, I had done the unthinkable, trespassing and theft from their secrets. I wasn't merely a wronged ex-wife seeking justice anymore. I had transformed. My own reflection showed a stranger, cold and unfeeling, whispering, "There's no turning back. What's done is done." Groundwork for the next stage needed immediate action, as the evidence from Jack's father's safe was a dormant volcano poised to erupt. At dawn's first light, strategy flooded my thoughts. Simply exposing their offshore fiasco wasn't enough. I needed a narrative that ensured their ultimate downfall. First, I contacted Janet, the journalist who first broke the story, enticing her without divulging too much. "Stay alert. The real intrigue is just starting," I teased. Shaping public perception was my next mission. Over countless months, I had carefully crafted both genuine connections and fictitious personas among influential circles. It was prime time to deploy these assets. Through innocuous whispers on social forums, doubts about the family's integrity began spreading like wildfire, gaining traction among the naturally skeptical. This virtual echo chamber grew, signaling propagation through whispers that echoed along the corridors of power. Behind the scenes, I collected evidence exposing the moral void within Jack's family, sending anonymous tips to authorities to uphold the illusion of multiple independent sources. All the while, my public veneer, Samantha Taylor, remained untouched by scandal, projecting the image of a savvy, upstanding businesswoman. I remotely perceived the crumbling edifice of their empire, tension fracturing Jack's facade as Eleanor's whispers reached me. Family dinners became battlegrounds. Jack spiraled, conspicuously erratic even in professional arenas. Unexpectedly, Alex, an old friend, a private investigator, visited me. "Sarah." He used my true name tentatively, questioning the depths of my intent. Offering wine, I reassured, "As far as it takes," and steeled myself for possible regret as lines blurred. His unease mirrored my own, yet restrained fury rekindled memories of betrayal. Contemplating the broken past and what lay ahead, I reassured myself it wasn't just about justice, but survival. Alex warned, caution in his voice, foreseeing Jack's family's defensive stratagems, convinced they'd retaliate fiercely. I reined in these possibilities, remained vigilant, and anticipated resistance. Enlisting former employees, I offered confidentiality for insights into hidden loopholes or defects within the enduring grievances. Newfound resolution unveiled brazen manipulations like layers of a fraudulent onion. Jack's offshore accounts were but a surface skim compared to a labyrinthine network of betrayal, shell fronts, faux charities, whispers of entanglement with organized crime. As I curated these findings, I discerned a cyclical pattern tied directly to their financial pressures. Ethics bent effortlessly during ease, snapping under duress. This insight fueled a new strategy: target current revenues, squeezing until desperation compelled the family into irreversible exposure. Through business allies, whispers suggested withdrawal from trust-depleted ventures, harnessing ill-fated investments. Economics tipping unexpectedly. The family's financial juggernaut began to tremble, power bases eroded by relocations of institutional support. Maintaining Samantha's cover required finesse. Reaching Jack. I dramatized earnest concern amid mutual distrust and tension-charged dialogues. It's a turbulent time, I feigned, but remember, support is around. His curt, indignant skepticisms echoed every instinct that signaled fear. His confidence faltered. Signifying success, I confidently orchestrated a more defining move from my view overlooking the city. Now, my personal chessboard. My cognitive arsenal primed the first major play, a sealed dossier containing damning proof regarding a concoction of greed and urban economic sabotage. Tied faultlessly to family exploits, awaited its debut. Janet, ever the thorough skeptic, received this bombshell with professional diligence, enthusiasm curbed by journalistic prudence. Remarkable, she murmured, calculations unrolling potential fallout. World-shaking implications, her excitement palpable, tempered with apprehension about seismically shifting a family's destiny. I nodded, dismissed second-hand reservations, assured that truth was owed above all. The resulting media storm became a textbook example of a high-stakes exposé. Social platforms bursted with outrage. The public rallied, demanding accountability while foundations of the family's esteem began disintegrating. Viewing from afar, I remained undistracted by triumph, yet aware of ensured retaliation. Battle far from over. Predictably, retaliation arrived as Jack's anger, coded in sarcasm and defiance, resounded through crackling speakers. Samantha, he spat, fury barely tethered. Acknowledging unintended milestones reached. Calmly poised, unperturbed confidence met his verbal onslaught. Underestimating resolve, he offered bluster, and I mirrored it back, firm in tone, accented with strategy's pre-calculated edge. Consider carefully before threats, Jack. The reminder planted uncertainty. A former flame, now opposition, made him flinch. Genuinely benevolent overtures stepped aside, memories of discouragement paving unyielding resolve, auguring an impending crescendo. As composure simmered, unseen vulnerabilities crackled, exposure setting in. Behind guild odds, allegations mounted unabated. Crime family veneer actively being chipped. External liaison Alex confirmed recoil onset. Sarah, urgency unmistakable. They're mobilizing against you. Although my alias was safe, contingencies spun alternative fates, past's unknown variables potentially weaponizing against me. Not unfamiliar with fear. Firm resolve anchored strategic outlook, caution dual-sided, shadowing moves beyond diplomatic fronts. Competitions intensified among former allies. Results impending as reverse narratives coursed through voice web thinly cloaked. Unbeknownst, public solidarity rallied, reconfirming resolve amid mutual hate-born commitments. Triumph, bittersweet, bolstered onward strategy, familial instability, cornerstone variable unmitigated amidst investigative auras invigorating my pursuit for retribution. Starting with Emily, Jack's younger sister, I leveraged my network of contacts to learn she felt overshadowed by her brother and resented her parents' favoritism. This vulnerability made her the ideal target to destabilize the Thompson family's united front. Using a carefully crafted online persona, I reached out to Emily on social media, posing as a sympathetic ear familiar with the pressures of high-profile family dynamics. Over several days, I cultivated a rapport with her, gradually gaining her trust. Once the time was ripe, I began planting subtle seeds of doubt, posing innocent questions about the family's questionable business practices and expressing shock at recent allegations, all designed to make Emily question how much she really knew about her family's dealings. Her uncertainty visibly grew with each conversation. My efforts bore fruit after a particularly heated family argument, which Emily vented about to me. I suggested she should consider protecting herself by coming forward. Before she got ensnared in the chaos, her reaction was swift. Within days, Emily had secured her own lawyer, separate from the family's legal team, fueling rumors she might strike a deal with prosecutors for immunity. The once united Thompson family was beginning to fracture, and Emily was merely the first domino. My next focus was Richard Thompson, Jack's father. Through my investigations, I uncovered evidence of his affair with a younger woman. It wasn't just a passing dalliance. Richard had been diverting company funds to support his mistress's extravagant lifestyle, setting her up in a lavish apartment. Anonymously, I sent comprehensive proof of this affair to Eleanor, Jack's mother, enclosing financial records, photos, and even a recording of Richard promising his mistress he'd leave Eleanor for her. Timing the delivery for when Richard would be home amplified the potential fallout. The results were explosive. Eleanor, usually the epitome of public composure, lost it entirely. Witnesses reported hearing explosive arguments from the Thompson home, and Richard was seen leaving in haste, a bruised face to match his hurriedly packed bags. As news of the family drama reached the press, their carefully managed facade of unity and moral high ground dissolved further. Business associates, already warily observing after allegations of financial misconduct, began further distancing themselves. The Thompson name was swiftly becoming a liability. However, I wasn't finished. My next offensive targeted their financial core. I began systematically dismantling their empire, using collected details on offshore accounts and shell companies to expose their financial manipulation. Documents leaked to financial regulators revealed the Thompsons' tax evasion tactics. Investigative journalists received evidence showing their charitable foundation as a front for money laundering. With each revelation, the noose tightened. Thompson-controlled company shares plummeted. Partners withdrew from deals and banks began calling in loans. The empire, generations in the making, was collapsing like a fragile house of cards. Throughout, I maintained my cover as Samantha Taylor, a savvy businesswoman, while attending social events and making strategic investments. To outsiders, I was entirely disconnected from the Thompson chaos. Yet behind the scenes, I orchestrated every move, taking satisfaction in watching my plan unfold. At one such event, Jack Thompson confronted me, his immaculate appearance disheveled, eyes bloodshot. "I know it's you," he spat, his breath heavy with expensive scotch. Despite his accusations, I met his gaze coolly, denying any involvement, with a practiced calm. His desperate grip and fury barely disguised his crumbling resolve. Watching Jack Thompson reduced to a mere shell of his former arrogant self was a moment of triumph. Still, a small voice nagged at me. Was this truly justice, or had I ventured beyond into something darker? Yet, recollection of the pain, humiliation, and injustice fortified my resolve. The Thompsons never showed me mercy, and I had no reason to extend any in return. As I left, a telling text awaited, a warning of the FBI preparing to act against the Thompsons, indictments looming, signaling the nearing end of my intricate plan. However, another revelation emerged. Mark Thompson, Jack's estranged cousin, had reappeared, potentially derailing my strategy. Known for his defiance of family business expectations, Mark's unexpected return threatened my careful orchestration. He was surfacing on news outlets, corroborating allegations against his family while divulging new accusations. Initially, his presence felt advantageous, confirming the validity of my leaked evidence. Yet, as Mark's narrative potentially overshadowed mine, the implications grew concerning. An unplanned encounter ensued at an upscale restaurant under the guise of me being a potential investor in a new venture he was planning. Our exchange confirmed Mark's insightful nature. Possessing a keen ambition beyond mere redemption, he sought power in the family's downfall. My silent reckoning cemented the fact that Mark was as much a threat as an ally. Shortly after, a cryptic message arrived, beckoning me to the old Thompson factory. Despite seeming an obvious trap, something about the chosen location compelled me to accept, albeit with backup from a trusted private investigator. Upon arrival, Eleanor Thompson emerged from the shadows. Her admission of long-standing manipulation within the family unveiled a commonality I hadn't anticipated. She too had suffered under the family's weight, building her own power base from within. Eleanor's invitation to an alliance revealed a strategic depth I hadn't foreseen, leaving me to ponder the alignment of our objectives. The network of deceit and retribution I navigated proved complex, each new development stretching the bounds of my resolve and testing my tactical acumen. Determined to see my endeavors to completion, I embraced this alliance, furthering my design to dismantle what the Thompsons represented, methodically ensuring their systemic collapse. Under the moonlight, I stood opposite the woman I'd long considered an adversary, Eleanor. She offered a choice. Continue dismantling the family piece by piece, or ally with her to obliterate them in one swift move. The game had changed once more. New allies, new obstacles, and a pivotal decision lay before me. The future seemed less certain, yet my resolve to see this through remained unwavering. Eleanor's proposition lingered, filled with potential and peril. I was silent, mulling over the implications of this unexpected alliance. Could I trust her? Was it another manipulation by the Thompsons to regain control? But gazing into Eleanor's eyes, I found something familiar. A steely determination shaped by years of bitterness and plotting, the same gaze I saw in my mirror. Why now? I finally asked, my voice a whisper in the serene night air. After everything, why reach out? She smirked. Because, my dear, you accomplished what I never could. You brought them to their knees. But they're not down for the count yet. Jack, Richard, the board members, they're plotting something grand, a last stand. I plan to witness their downfall. Contemplating Eleanor's words, I saw potential gains and significant risks. She had insider information and resources beyond my reach, but could I trust someone so entwined with the family's machinations?
What do you propose?
I asked, still wary. A joint strike, Eleanor replied, eyes gleaming with anticipation. I have intel on a secret board meeting in 3 days. Every key player will be there, trying to salvage their empire. It's our perfect moment to expose every dirty secret and corrupt deed. The idea drew me, facing them all, watching their empire crumble. It was a culmination of my endeavors. What's your angle? I pressed, distrusting her motives. She turned somber. Revenge, plain and simple. They stole my youth and dreams, twisting me into something unwanted. I want to watch it all burn. In that moment, I saw myself in her. The pain, anger, the all-consuming need for retribution, a chilling realization. All right, I relented. I'm in, but we do this my way. I've come too far to relinquish control now. Eleanor nodded, respect flickering in her eyes. Agreed. Let's plan our grand finale. The next 3 days were a frenzy of preparation. Armed with Eleanor's intel, I meticulously cross-referenced everything while assembling my own damning dossier of evidence. On the morning of the meeting, I stood ready, a far cry from the person I was a year ago. Today, I was Samantha Taylor, avenging angel. Eleanor and I rendezvoused outside the towering Thompson corporate headquarters. With a confident nod, we entered the building, heels echoing on the marble floor. Recognizing Eleanor, the guards waved us through unquestioned. The ride up the elevator was electrifying, the culmination of everything I had worked for. The boardroom fell silent upon our entrance. Shock, confusion, and then horror etched across the Thompson elite's faces as they recognized me. Jack, seated at his father's right hand, paled visibly. What is the meaning of this? Richard Thompson bellowed, rising. Eleanor, why are you with her? Eleanor's smile was sharp. Sit down, Richard. It's high time for a family meeting. Before reactions could swell, I stepped forward, dropping my hefty dossier onto the table. Ladies and gentlemen, I declared, voice steady. I'm Sarah Thompson, known to some as Jack's wife. others as the rising businesswoman Samantha Taylor. Today, I'm the architect of your unraveling. Chaos erupted. Jack lunged, but Eleanor intercepted him smoothly. I'd reconsider, she warned, voice dripping with faux sweetness. In the ensuing silence, I announced, this file contains evidence of every illegal transaction, every corrupt act, every skeleton in the Thompson closet. Financial fraud, tax evasion, bribery, even murder. At murder, the room quieted, eyes zeroing in on Richard, who turned ashen. You've built your empire on backs of others. My voice gaining strength. Crushed dissent, used people like pawns. Today, you face consequences. Meeting Jack's gaze, the man I once loved who now seemed pathetic, I stated. You thought you could use and discard me. You were wrong. Eleanor seized the moment. I've watched this family decay from within, she declared. I played my role, waited my time, but now it ends. Richard erupted in rage. Traitor, he spat. Eleanor laughed coldly. You gave me nothing but misery. I'm taking it all back. The boardroom doors burst open. FBI agents stormed in, led by a stern man. Richard Thompson, he announced, you and your associates are under arrest for fraud, racketeering, and conspiracy to commit murder. The room plunged into chaos. I watched detachedly as board members were handcuffed. Jack led away, defeated, our eyes meeting one last time. With the room emptying, Eleanor and I stood alone. The adrenaline waned, leaving a hollow ache. It's over, I said, voice distant. Eleanor's hand on my shoulder was gentle. No, it's just begun, she whispered. We've changed the world. Outside, we faced the media frenzy. Reporters clamored. We moved through them silently. At a nearby cafe, we sought solace. Eleanor, full of admiration and worry, noted, you did it, Sarah. Brought them down. How does it feel? I stared into my coffee, struggling. I'm not sure, I confessed. Triumphant yet empty. Eleanor understood. Revenge consumes, but leaves a void once fulfilled. Her words resonated. My life had been singularly focused on revenge, now completed. What next? Days blurred with legal proceedings and relentless media coverage. The downfall of the Thompson empire was the decade's biggest story. While they faced long sentences, their companies plummeted. Yet amidst public chaos, I withdrew, grappling with unease. In pursuit of justice, had I become what I despised? I turned to Alex, a former investigator and friend, who sensed my turmoil. Concerned, he visited, offering support. Pouring out my conflicted feelings, I faced doubts. For so long, I've been Samantha Taylor, I admitted, unsure of Sarah. Alex reassured me, what you did was remarkable. But revenge isn't the end. It's what you do next that counts. His words ignited a shift. Tearing down the Thompsons, it was time to build anew. I contacted Janet, the journalist who helped unravel the Thompson saga. Together, we embarked on a book, detailing their rise and fall, a cathartic retelling that reconnected me to my former self. Desiring more than to narrate my past, I sought to effect change. Inspired, I conceived a foundation aiding corporate fraud victims and supporting whistleblowers. Driven, I leveraged Samantha Taylor's connections, realizing the Sarah Thompson Foundation, a beacon for justice. Engaged in community works, I rediscovered parts of myself. Encountering Tom, a fellow teacher, fear gripped me, a panic fought with a breath and a smile. It's me, Tom. Our conversation spanned hours. Amazed, he noted, I always knew you were strong. You've come through intact, still wanting to better the world. Touched for the first time, I felt like Sarah again, stronger and wiser. I gradually stepped back from Samantha Taylor, retaining her as part of me, yet embracing Sarah, capable and just. A year post-Thompson, I addressed a charity gala for the foundation. Familiar and new faces filled the audience. Spotting Eleanor, her nod affirmed my path. I spoke, releasing peace. The journey, fraught and dark, had led here. Ladies and gentlemen, I announced, firm and clear, I am Sarah Thompson. Once driven by revenge, today I strive to effect change. Listing the foundation's goals, the last pieces fell into place. The broken, avenging woman had found her true purpose. Challenges remained, yet I anticipated the future. Having dismantled a corrupt dynasty, I was set to build something meaningful. Finishing amidst applause, I knew this wasn't an end, but a promising new beginning. Ready to face it as my true self, Sarah Thompson, embracing justice and redemption.